loud over you.
I think we all heard that.
And like even if I turn the laptop down, it doesn't turn that down. And I've tried pushing the down button on the side of the owl, and then that just mutes this. And so I just try not to.
We'll go with it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do we have anybody online?
Yeah. Oh,
I'm just reading through them.
that's all right. Very good. All set? Yep. All right. Welcome. We will open our meeting at 6 o'clock sharp. And the first item is adjustments to the agenda.
I was just gonna recommend that we do the DOT Village Partnership part first, so that they don't have to sit through all of the rest of our fun things that we have.
Okay.
I would propose we make them sit down. No.
Could I also propose that we do ATV club contracts? So you-
fine.
Are you sure?
I'm fine.
You can hang out here?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Our meetings are usually fun.
All right, anything else, adjustments?
No.
All right, we have the signing of warrants that we're kind of in the process of doing. So let's just, how do we want to do this before public? I don't know if we have any public comment.
We
over
don't.
there.
So just, you can do that before town manager and all of that.
Okay. All right, let's quickly go over the minutes though. Did you have any issues?
No.
And you're good? Me too. Okay. So motion to accept.
Second.
All in
Oh.
favor?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
you
Yeah,
make the
did
motion?
it. So, yeah, I think I did. Okay, so welcome. Hi.
Not normally have a presentation, I'll just sort of stand
Yeah.
back here, however that works. So, again, not really wanting to present, but hopefully everyone's had the opportunity to see the final report that was prepared by Coral Palmer as part of our partnership. We really wanted to, first of all, introduce myself. My name is Matt Drost. I'm the former Region 3 Regional Transportation Planner for Maine DOT. The current one is Mike Corey, he's here as well. And just sort of as the final part of the planning phase of the process, we wanted to come ask if there were any questions and talk about next steps, including the town being reimbursed and any implementation questions you have or what options are available. So maybe I'll turn it over to you. Are there any questions about the final report? Any comments on the final report? And then I can offer what you do with it now.
It's been a while since I actually looked at it, I apologize. But we had some discussions about, in terms of, there are some things that we just can't afford.
Yep.
And some things that are very high priority for the town.
Okay.
Pedestrian safety, slowing traffic. So we weren't sure, I guess that's a question, like how do we
How do you do
pick pieces?
something next?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you definitely can. So as far as implementation of the report, it very much is, it is what it claims to be, which is a publicly informed plan for options that are available to you. I don't want to say that Maine DOT can't afford that, but very obviously in the last 3+ months, we have a very different federal funding outlook.
Mm-hmm.
Our ability to go get large discretionary grants is definitely kind of up in the air. It's not even that it's not good, it's not that it's bad, we don't know.
We don't know. Right?
So there's a component of that. Certainly congressionally directed spending, which is now just closing sort of for this round, seems to be something that'll continue on and maybe a way to implement to pay for some of this stuff. So I'll say similarly that we're probably not in a position right now to fund the whole project as it's designed either. So I think a kind of a la carte approach makes a lot of sense for both of us.
Yeah.
Each of those things, I briefly looked at the report again today for the first time in about 6 weeks, and I don't know if each element was broken down by cost, but we can kind of figure out what that looks like. The total construction package, I think, was about 12 million. The most expensive components of that are definitely things like sidewalk and shared use path in the village area. So.
Yeah.
But going forward in pieces, if you want to do one sidewalk, then the other part of town, and then the other part of town, and also sort of on the heels of the pavement project that's going to occur this year as well, probably won't have much impact on many of those elements. Yeah. So that's sort of a long way around to say, item by item does make a lot of sense. $1 million here or $1 million there in the. I know it's easy to say, but the intent still, even at $1 million for some sort of sidewalk project, the intent would be for either the town as the lead applicant or Maine DOT as the lead applicant to seek congressionally directed spending from one of the delegation, which that would come in at 80% federal cost and then 10% local and 10% state, which is generally the way larger parts of projects are implemented. So $1 million here or there means 100,000 for your entity and 100,000 for ours, which is not nothing. But certainly 10 cents on the dollar for a larger scale improvement around pedestrian safety is a good deal, even if it is expensive to pay for.
Right. And so going forward, kind
Yeah.
of thinking a la carte wise,
Yeah.
What are the requirements in terms of, I certainly would want community input onto how we go from there and what pieces we prioritize.
Yep.
And yeah, so.
Yeah, definitely. So I won't say that Maine DOT is not still a partner in developing kind of the prioritized list that I think you're describing with you, but it is also very much may be different if it's a local conversation only. So you're welcome to invite us back. We can have that conversation with you, and certainly it will help you figure out what the cost of certain components are.
Yeah.
But as an add-on to your town meeting or a special evening in Monson to talk about kind of how to prioritize next steps is maybe your best option, in my opinion. And we're happy to help inform that. But once you've done that, then there'd be a more formal sort of, it's not really an application, but it's sort of a notification of resolution from this board, from your board, to Maine DOT to, it's essentially, please help us implement this, this, and this at a cost share not less than expected to be 10% local, and seek federal funding and design costs.
Okay.
So that would be your that's your bigger next step. There's a short-term next step, which I'll offer now, is to have sort of this portion of the process closed out, would be to have a board vote, whether that's a resolution or just sort of an acknowledgement that the report is accepted. Even if there are elements of it you don't intend to put it, the plan is a representation of the process that did occur. So if you'll approve it as such, and then that will accompany all the invoices you've paid to the consultant over the past 18 months or so. Those two things bundled together, Elena will submit them to Mike and I, and we'll reimburse you. I think it's a 70-30 split. So we would reimburse you 70% of the project cost.
Okay.
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 So that's your next very short-term step. You could choose to do it tonight. You could choose to do it in your next select board. I mean, we'll accept that invoice package from you when it's prepared. Anytime.
Makes sense to do that tonight.
We'll do it tonight.
If there are any other
Yeah,
questions.
I feel like we already did, but
Yeah, I think
we
We
accepted,
did.
we
yeah.
accepted but I'm not sure that we officially notified or.
It's okay, as long as that sort of acceptance and conversation is recorded in a set of minutes. That's fine.
Yeah, I think we can.
That'll do it for me, and you can
Okay.
attach that to the invoices.
Okay, so send them to,
I can send you an email with all of this, but
okay,
yeah, you'll basically attach those minutes. You'll attach the invoices to the set of minutes with the cover letter being the email saying, please reimburse us X%. But I'll drop you an email tomorrow.
okay.
I'm not sure. I mean, we can do it again if we. if you
No,
think
I was
we
just,
should.
what month?
It was a couple months.
It was
right
like-
after
Had to
we
run
got the
together.
report. I feel like it was maybe we didn't act on it the first month. and
Right.
It was like a month later, and
Yeah.
you had said, oh, they need us to
Right,
accept the report, and we did.
yeah, we did
And I
do that.
remember.
It
I'll
was recently.
say, I think, I haven't read your minutes, I didn't watch the recording, but I got the final report from Goral Palmer right around March 25th, and I think that was after your board said that there were no additional comments or something on the
Maybe it
draft.
was just a
So you
draft.
have
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's
the final
probably.
Yeah.
report
Okay.
effectively.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
so
right.
yeah, that's probably,
So-
there's so many steps.
There are.
I know. That's why I asked, because it's,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, that's
there's a
fair.
lot of, it's complicated.
Then I would make a motion to accept the final report from the village partnership
Okay.
study
Coral farm, yeah.
and from Goral Palmer.
I'll second. Any other discussion on that? All in favor? All in favor.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
a huge step. So then, it really is in your hands, not that we're leaving you, we literally are going to in a minute, leave town, but not that you're on your own to implement anything. But it really is what part you want to implement, how and when.
Okay.
What's the
so-
time frame as far as how long is this good for?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great question. It doesn't really have a shelf life.
Okay.
It is kind of up to the community on how you feel about the interest and the feedback you're getting from your residents. So if it's 3 years from now, that's certainly acceptable to us. We wouldn't want to wait that long. Obviously, we're excited to implement portions of the project. But if it's FY '26, FY '27, and you've raised the capital you're looking for to do the project you want, that's certainly acceptable, no problem at all. 5 or 8 years from now, your community might have a different feeling about some of these elements, want to do something more, something less,
Mhm.
and you might decide to find a way with us to enhance the report.
Okay, I like the thing I'm thinking of is there might be something short-term, like we desperately need crosswalks. I mean, we don't have any right now,
Yep.
and so there might be something that is more acceptable and easier to move forward, but there may be some other things that we wanna.
Crosswalks wouldn't be part of the 25.
So
road
I'll
plan.
say yes and no.
Okay.
They are not on their own. There would need to be, I say you, because I think that's probably the answer that I'll go back to the office and find out. But we'd have to find a way to add on to the scope of the existing project.
Mhm.
The scope of the current project does not intend to move curb line. That even includes tipping it down with the appropriate ADA landing pad, anything like that.
Right.
Those elements will have costs. It's relatively inexpensive. It's not 7 figures by any stretch of the imagination, but there'll be costs there.
Yeah.
If that's something you want to implement as part of the project, I think there's an answer to that.
Okay.
I'll call the crosswalk striping. And
Yeah.
certainly the DOT project that comes through can do anything with paint within that
Right,
right away,
right.
or within that, pavement footprint. But if you want to attach, if you want to get into the sidewalks, then maybe,
Yeah, and I
different
forgot that we
element.
have parking, where that sidewalk
Yep.
area was, and that can't be anymore. Yeah, it's a little bit more involved.
I would ask, I think Mike and I were chatting about this a minute ago. I can't remember the exact timeline for the pavement project. I do think it's a 2025 pavement project. So if you do have any striping requests that you'd like to be considered, I would ask you to reach out you can start with me and I'll include Mike and the project manager, Guy Whittington, as soon as tomorrow or first of the week.
Okay,
So we can
because
kind of implement that.
one of the, just painting of a sidewalk, there used to be a sidewalk. Crosswalk,
Mhm.
that's what I meant.
To the AT,
Somewhere right
Yeah.
here,
Mhm.
and now there is not.
Right.
So, I mean, wherever they,
But can you legally put a crosswalk
it
where
was
it's
there
not legal?
before.
Well, that's not technically a parking spot out there where it landed.
Where it landed, yeah.
So, just my 2 cents.
It's a tough question that I'm not the authority on. We do have plenty of those folks that can answer the technical part of that question, including our region traffic engineer who could decide whether the sightlines were appropriate, but also our ADA coordinator who can help answer what the proper landing is
Mhm.
gonna be.
Just so we don't
Open.
Paint a crosswalk and then have somebody come get hit by a car and then file a lawsuit
Yep,
saying it
for
was.
sure. No, I understand. I think that probably the best bet, you obviously could probably do just about anything out there right now, and it's gonna be reclaimed in a few months and repaved. At that point, whatever goes back down, the department would pay for and do as part of our component of the project. It just has to be
Signed off
legal
by us.
and correct. That's right. Yeah, and enhanced probably by the town
Yeah.
with finances to do something specific for the ADA compliance component, stuff like that.
Okay.
So I can get you a better answer on like what that would look like.
Okay.
Okay.
This conversation is enough for me to ask Guy, like, all right, they're interested in a crosswalk. How do we, a crossing
Specifically
Somewhere-
right here.
So,
local to the AT center in the town.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, two of them would be nice, one up to that medical center too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there was one up there.
I was thinking a third near the Robinsons too. Let's go for it.
Should be a
Sure.
third one.
Well, if you're doing one, you might as well do three. I
I
actually
mean-
don't disagree.
I mean, if we're talking about this project and
Yeah.
smallish scale, I mean, crosswalks being the bare minimum
I think
of,
really the easiest part,
and so
probably.
if we could figure out like what that would be
Mhm.
for 3 crosswalks, then maybe that's where we start.
For sure. Okay. Would you, I think the report makes reference to maybe throughout the corridor, things like, what are they called? Rapid rectangular flashing beacons, RRFBs, are actuated by the pedestrian and they blink in advance. Those are inherently more expensive. They're usually solar powered, but they do require the building of a base and the equipment and stuff. Somewhere around $15,000 a piece, per crossing, I should say. Are you interested in those types of additions?
What's required, I guess, with a
Not required.
qualification?
For crossings, you could do static signs, just a
Mhm.
sort of, pedestrian crossing here sign.
What if we wanted to do that like down the road?
Yeah, you definitely can do that down the road.
Cause baby steps.
Yeah.
If we can just get a crosswalk and then we can add
Sure,
the spice a little bit later,
understood.
we can do that.
Yeah, I think you can.
I have one last question
Sure,
about public input. So is there any requirement in terms of the format for that public? I mean, it would be, it's great to have in person like we had prior,
Sure.
but I'm just wondering, people that can't attend,
Yeah.
if we could survey somehow, just,
Yeah, you definitely can. Sort of the prioritization and the components, we could help you figure out maybe how to word it or how to ask it and break it
Okay.
apart. And especially if you want to attach specific costs to specific elements.
the.
That's gonna be the tougher part that we'll probably rely on either Goral Palmer or our highway team,
Okay,
for example, to help
okay.
do that. But we're happy to give you that information. The public engagement isn't really up to you. There is no, it's very informal. If you want to do a survey for 30 days, or you want to have a pin board at your town meeting, that kind of thing is all great.
Okay,
Whatever makes you feel comfortable with which part to go forward with.
excellent. Lots to think about.
Perfect.
Thank you both
Awesome.
so much.
You're very welcome. Any other DOT related questions or thoughts? For Mike, I should say at this point.
Yeah.
Mike's taking notes here.
When is the paving scheduled?
We can
We
find
will have
out.
to double check on
I
that.
did think it was later in 25, second half of 25 was my guess.
So sometime July, August, September,
Mhm.
because I'm thinking the sculpture project.
To
We were trying
coincide.
to avoid
Oh, right,
intersecting with the paving project.
yeah, yeah.
Is that sculpture scheduled TBD or is
Yeah,
it?
what is the project?
How much money would you like to contribute?
Yeah.
We're raising money, I think we have enough money to get them here, but there are 5 very large and heavy sculptures that are gonna be placed several places downtown.
Okay.
And we thought to avoid torn up roadways
Mhm.
and sculpture moving.
How heavy? I mean, two
Tons.
logging trucks. Yeah, so I just suppose it's not
The
heavier than,
expense
heavier
is
than a full
getting-
truck.
Getting
Yeah, Mhm.
the cranes and the trucks.
That's perfectly understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Approval.
Yeah,
These two things collide.
But you're talking after July 1.
that's my guess, because
I'm
there's
sorry, I should
nothing,
be talking a month.
no, because there's no prep out there now. I wouldn't say it's earlier,
Yeah, and
but we can find out.
we can find out and get back to.
I know they approached, didn't they contact about permitting for?
Allowing heavy,
Yes, I actually have that right
Yeah,
here.
we have that.
I had emailed it out to you, so that will just need to be signed.
Is that the
later.
sculpture?
It's the DOT.
The DOT
Okay.
reached out to, about permitting to move equipment.
Okay,
So they're thinking about it.
right. That's a great first step.
Yeah.
I do have a question, doesn't pertain to this particular project. It pertains to the Blanchard Road. You may not even know the answer because you may not even be involved in it. I know for years, the state has been surveying and marking to do ditching and culverts and stuff. And it hasn't gotten done, and right now we're facing an issue with our public beach. Every time we get a heavy rain, the water just runs down the road and washes the beach out.
Yep.
Which I think we looked at.
We
Yeah.
did, when we
Yeah.
were here for our site walk, sometime early June, I think, mid-June of 2023.
Yeah, I showed them.
We were down at the beach and you had just had a heavy rain here. And I think we actually figured out that the culvert was even not functioning correctly. The
Yeah.
culvert tops very, very quickly and runs across the road.
Yeah.
So we are aware of it. No, we're not directly involved. That's definitely a regional maintenance issue, but we can highlight it again.
Yeah.
For the, I think it's at least the Shirley camp, if not the region, so.
Okay, great.
And if there is something in the works, we can tell you about what that schedule might look like too. or
That would be
together and
awesome.
inform you as well.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Because I had reached out to somebody that was talking with the regional people. And he said, I can't promise anything,
Yeah,
and never heard anything back, and
it sounds familiar from even my experience 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just-
I know the region's aware of it. That may not help a whole lot, but I know it's on their radar.
or even just an
When
answer
resources
saying, yeah,
available.
we're gonna do something in the next year or two, just.
Understood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we just,
Any answer, not just radio silence.
Yeah.
right,
Not just-
right.
Not that we just understand.
Yeah, because, I mean, ultimately, then our beach is washing out into the lake, which then
Right.
is a DEP problem, and then it just goes full circle, so.
Absolutely.
We could connect DEP with DOT.
Right.
Awesome.
Anything
Thank you all
else?
for your time.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Rob.
thanks for
Really
coming.
appreciate it.
And
We'll,
for
we'll,
getting us on the agenda.
we'll have conversations about how we go
Yeah,
forward
please.
and communicate with you. So,
Terrific.
Thank you. Nice to
Thank you all
meet
very
you.
much.
Great
Thank
work.
you.
Thanks. How exciting.
Progress. All right.
If all else fails, we'll give you a can of paint, a paintbrush, and
Don't think
You
it
can put
hasn't
'em wherever
been
you want.
considered, yes.
Well, I had planned on just
Yeah.
doing it myself, but then that guy from Beaver Cove or wherever up there said he'd do it for $100, so I'm like, sounds better than me out there with my can of spray paint.
But if we could have it done as part of that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
Just painting them,
have it
because
done.
they're gonna come through and stripe everything after.
Right,
So, yep, just these three
The
locations.
stripes are going a different direction, that's all.
Yeah.
They're looking at it right now, too. All right. Elena, are you ready for town manager report?
yeah, hang on just a second. All right. Mhm. Okay, so I guess the first thing on my town manager report would be 19 Center Street. So the revised finding in order he had received March 22nd, so his 30 days would have been up Tuesday or yesterday.
Tuesday.
So now I guess it would be a matter of giving him, which I will have to double check what the allowance is for how many days he has to clean out personal property or
Right.
whatever. But sending that, and then once that 60 days is up, which we can kind of, like maybe in our May meeting, talk about putting it out to bid, and then, so while his 60 days is up, we're moving forward on the other side of things.
That sounds good.
So
But
for,
do we have to put it out to bid?
no? Technically, no,
We don't have a bid process.
right? That's, well, that makes things a little bit easier, but, depending on if we know or find somebody that wants to do it, maybe, we do wanna put it out to bid, I don't know.
I think Mike Wood is interested in doing things like that and bidding
Okay.
on things like that. He's the one who did,
The other one,
that one, the Water Street one.
okay.
So,
maybe-
definitely check with him.
Okay.
I think he might be interested.
Okay, so sometime between now and our next meeting, we'll have that conversation. But for the time being, we'll send him a letter with the specific, how long he has until we do what we're
The
planning on
timeline,
doing.
right? Makes
And
sense.
send it to him certified and start the day from there. But he did receive it on March 22nd, so his 30 days to appeal has now expired, and the revised finding in order was registered with the registry as well, so that part's good.
Okay.
I think, alright, that's on the agenda, so I'll leave that for a second. So speed bumps, that's something that is on our radar for the next couple of weeks. So we're hoping, Steve Bro is one of the firefighters that came and said that he would help out Steve in whatever capacity that we were looking for. So we were gonna reach out to him and see if he would like to help our Steve put the speed bumps down.
Sounds good.
So there's that.
Did we need to order any more parts for those, the anchors and bolts?
I
Where some
don't
of them
think
didn't-
so.
The anchors in theory get reused, correct? They just filled them
right.
and they just
They're
sink
supposed
the new bolt, the bolt back through it.
That's the way it's supposed to happen.
Right.
There was.
I think
Do we
there was
have-
a,
There were some that had,
Do we have
a little
any
too much
backup, though?
adhesive in there. I don't know if he had any left over or not. He may have had extras.
It
from
may
last
be
year.
worth at least
Check.
talking to him
Yeah,
and
yeah.
ordering a few extra.
Well, just checking to see what we got before they go out and start installing them and then say, oh, we're short and,
Right,
You don't-
exactly.
Yeah.
but I think when they put them in, I don't think they did every single hole.
I think they did.
Did-
I believe that they did. I think they weren't going to, but I think they did.
They did end up doing it?
There was something up that they couldn't finish, but Steve went back the next day. I can't remember what was going on, but, he went back the next day and finished them up.
Because even if it's just short a couple from filling every hole, they don't all need to be
Right.
down.
So supposedly the casings are still in there and the bolts were supposed to pull right out and they're all supposed to line back up and go right back in the same holes. So I don't know.
Keyword supposed to.
That's what I'm thinking. But the guy said, it's really not as hard as you think. And, you don't have to have the exact same piece in the exact same spot where it was last year. He said that they're uniform enough that you shouldn't have to do that. So I don't know. We'll see.
We'll check it out.
I might call out sick that day.
I thought Steve said he had to cut off some of the bolts.
He did have a couple bolts he had to cut off and some of the sleeves that go down in came out.
yeah.
Took them a little bit of doing just to figure out the adhesive and how to work that applicator and everything, but they got it. 'Cause I
Either
know it
way,
took half as much time.
We'll check to make sure we have all of the weapons for mass destruction before we move forward with that. But it is on the to-do list, so, and then once the posted signs come off the roads, we'll be hauling more winter sand and salt to use up what remaining funds we have in the budget for this year to hopefully offset some costs next year. But that's for when posters come down. Sustainability grant, we received $50,000 from the EMS grant that we applied for the fire department for EMS training. And that will be able to do 6 people to go to a EMT training in Greenville that starts in August, and I think it goes through till December. So 6 people will be able to attend that, and then Bob McDonald was able to get a defibrillator cardiac monitor from the department that he works for was replacing theirs with a different, and they were being refurbished, and for $10,000 we could get what to them isn't what they want, but for us it's 6 times better than where we're at right now.
I mean, the one we
So-
have now doesn't work.
Right, right.
So,
And then
Probably more than 6 times better.
right. So where it's being refurbished by Stryker, it's still warranted under Stryker versus there's some online that we could get a little bit cheaper, but they come with no warranty, and with no warranty, Stryker won't work on them, warranty or not. So then we don't have anybody to work on it. So,
So that grants.
So that
cover that as well, right?
yep, and a Lucas device.
And
A Lucas device. So a Lucas device is a CPR machine, for lack of a better term.
Pumps, right?
Yeah.
Like it
oh,
And
does compressions.
it does compressions. So it takes out the human error of CPR.
Mhm.
And there's very few people that you can't use it on. And it takes away from, well, the human error aspect of it, but also if you're doing CPR alone or with limited people, it gives significantly better CPR than what you can do on your own.
That's nice. Wish I had that in high school.
Yeah. And Bob and I were talking that since the Lucas device has been around, CPR has, I mean, like he was saying, he's been doing CPR for 30 years and he's hardly ever seen it be successful until now with this Lucas device. So that will be a huge asset to the town. So,
Did they already have 6 firefighters sign up for that or for that class?
I don't know the answer to that. I do know that at their last meeting or the meeting before that, they were putting a feeler out to how many guys wanted to take that training. So I'm assuming that they have some idea of who they want to send. But I don't know if they have like, here's who's going to that.
Say if for some reason there's not 6 of them that want to do it, can a junior firefighter do it? Take the class and be certified?
I don't know. Because in the junior firefighting part, medical calls are not included in that.
Right.
Well, not
But if
necessarily
he
be
was
going
an
to it, but he
EMT
could get certified so that when he becomes a full-time or a volunteer firefighter, he's already got that certification. If he wants to do that, because he seems like he has a strong interest in
Right,
sticking with it.
right. I don't know. That will have to be a question that I ask. And once he tells me, you know, these are the guys that are going or whatever, I'll relay that information back. But the class is Thursday nights once a week, I think, in Greenville from August to December. So because it's only once a week, the class is a little bit longer than, and we talked about what it was gonna be like for reimbursement for people going to this training, because it's 80 hours, so 80 hours times 6 people adds a lot. So we kind of talked about it and we kind of came up with an agreement that the town would pay 40 hours and they would volunteer 40 hours. So we kind of split that 50-50. So I felt that was pretty fair.
I mean, they're doing it to benefit the town.
They
so
are.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
More than fair.
Yeah.
Really.
And so $50,000, they sent me an email this morning that said that the commissioner had signed off and payment was sent to the service provider or whatever. So we should see our money within 2 to 3 weeks.
Good.
So that was a very nice surprise when she called me on Tuesday and asked me if I had signed the agreement. And I was like, I didn't even know we got the grant. And she's like, what? She's like, you didn't get my email? I'm like, no, I did not.
She sent it to the wrong email?
No, it came up spam because it was sent through
Oh.
DocuSign
Right.
instead of from like a person. So she goes, well, that's why I'm calling everybody because nobody seemed to have got it. And I was like, oh, well, I'm glad I'm not alone.
So what organization is the grant through?
Maine EMS.
Okay.
So, and that was, they had 2 grants. One of them is a sustainability grant and one was a stabilization grant. We kind of missed the stabilization grant because it was previous chief time. So things were significantly different and
Okay.
so, but yeah, so that was this sustainability grant. And I think this is something that we can apply for annually, but I'm not 100% sure with that. But yeah, so there's that. Well, I'm on the same grant talking about. So the MMA safety grant was submitted on April 15th for $3,000. And it would be for road sign, like work road signs, I guess. Like
All right.
the roll-up signs, I guess they're called. And some of them say like work zone ahead, some of them have a picture of like a flagger or a guy shoveling in the dirt and stuff like that. And I put 4 stands in that grant and a few safety vests and like 25 or 30 cones. I can't remember the specific number, but that was submitted on April 15th. And they emailed me back and said that they are going to be reviewing it like shortly after the 15th. So we should be hearing anytime soon.
Awesome.
Okay, so update on town solar. So at our last meeting, we kind of talked about where to go with the whole town solar, and we talked about not sending money, and that didn't work either because apparently they just don't care if they get paid or not. But I was able to sit down and have a conversation with him in 15 minutes, and he kind of cut me off and moved on. But basically where we left things was he was going to try to come up with a solution that works best for everybody, because I did not like the town is gonna pay for this, even though that the contract says otherwise. So basically, in a nutshell, he wanted us to purchase this $700 piece of equipment that in the contract says is his responsibility, but during our conversation, it was basically, well, the town's been in breach of contract by not having internet, so because of that, we're not gonna pay for this piece of equipment, and you are. And I'm like, well, we don't have $700, so. And then, I sent him all the last 3 months worth of CMP bills for him to review the generation, because now this time of year, now all of our bank's generation has run out and we're not generating hardly anything. So now, like I said before, one of the bills for the town office was $540 versus $40. So I relayed that information back to him, and I'm hoping that he'll come back and say, this might be what's wrong, or maybe we can do this to help offset whatever. But with talking with Glenn, all the generation is on the CMP bills. So that makes me think that if all the generation is on the CMP bills, we don't need internet, and we don't need that box that he's trying to get us to replace, if you can get the generation and usage off the CMP bills to do, because that was his reasoning as to why we couldn't do the reconciliation of credits, was that we didn't have connection to see what we were actually generating. But the generation is on the CMP bill, so I don't know. And so he's saying that and I might have told this in a previous meeting, he's saying that there's generation being used before it goes through the meter. So what is on the CMP bill isn't accurate generation. But if that was the case, then the transfer station would be the first to use it. And that's not the case. So.
But doesn't the power's gotta go from the panels through the meter before it can be used by anything?
But what he is claiming is that it's being used by the transfer station before it goes through the meter.
The transfer station's open 2 days a week,
That's
and
what I
it's, and really,
You can't do
the
that.
power can, like, it's still gotta be,
There's a meter down there, but it's a dual meter. It measures the generation and it measures the load. What leaves on the wire is the difference. But the meter actually measures the actual generation and the actual load. And everything else is done, bookkeeping wise, if you will.
Right.
So, for example, if the generation is 500 and the load at the transfer station is 500, there's nothing leaving, but you're still generating 500,
and it's still,
and it's being assigned to I think up here first, I can't remember
Yeah.
now, but, so it's an
Here,
assignment
Jim,
as
then
opposed to an
this.
actual physical.
Right, you're not actually physically using it, yeah. I mean, I still have the same question, Elena, that I had, I think I asked you the other day, like, I understand that the way this works is that at about 20 years, we own it.
Well, so, and he might have a better explanation for this, but when I was reading through the purchase agreement or whatever it's called, unless we buy it out, right, we don't actually own it. So at the end of those 20 years of leasing them, they have to decommission them and take care of them.
So that was, my point was, we're kind of, in some sense, it's probably good that we didn't get the grant to purchase it outright,
I feel that way.
because we don't want the decommissioning costs. And I guess that was my big question, and maybe.
They are obligated to decommission
They
it
are, okay,
unless you decide you wanna keep it.
right,
Then you would be liable for it.
right. So they'll, in theory, at the end of that period, they'll take their equipment home with them.
Right.
Okay,
I think the only issue is if they're still in business
right,
Yeah,
and if they have the capital to actually decommission it, and who knows what it'll cost.
well, and my guess is that they create LLCs for every
Yes,
town,
Yeah.
so that they can be separated, and so that 997 Solar can go out of business
Yes.
potentially, and
I didn't see anything in the contract for like an escrow where they
I don't,
pile up a bunch of money just in case, and so, yeah, they're obligated, but.
who's the umbrella, company over 997 Solar, do you know?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think there is an umbrella company. I think it's just one guy that has started up
Several companies.
several
Several
companies.
companies.
And every municipality is a different
Right,
company, so that they're
Right.
sheltered from each
right, but
other.
is this Vaughn somebody?
Vaughn Woodruff.
Woodruff. Okay. So I have a question back so the internet, according to Vaughn, the purpose of the internet was to provide what?
The generation to this data box, basically, to be able to provide accurate generation and to see if the solar panels are working the way that they're supposed to be working. But like Glenn is saying, that's information he needs, not us.
Right,
So
right.
that's more the reason for him to purchase a $700 piece of equipment that is useless to us. Because we're already paying $84.95 a month for internet that is essentially useless to us as well.
So he just wants to know how much his solar panels are generating?
Well, it's so that he can do the whole reconciliation
of,
process
because
where,
we're getting billed for 2,300 kilowatt hours a month.
Yeah,
And then at the end of the year, he's supposed to go through and find out which months we generated less than that, which ones we did over than that, to come up with a reconciliation of if we use less than that,
yeah,
he credits us
Right.
that, which is definitely the case since the beginning of time.
but CMP doesn't credit us.
No, because
Has nothing to do with CMP.
Okay. There's so many different types of solar arrangements, that's why
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with this one, okay.
So basically all it is like, they're charging us 2300 kilowatt hours a month,
Okay.
regardless of what we are generating. Because all they care about is what we're generating, not what we're using.
Okay.
So last month, we generated 181, period. Not 100, period. So 181 to 2300 is a significant difference. And if it would be one thing if we were making it up in the summer months because we were generating like 3,500 and whatever, it would kind of offset that 181. But we're consistently
Consistently, yeah.
generating way less than what was anticipated.
So there's something,
From the data I saw, the average generation over a year's time is probably 1,600, something like that.
Yeah. I wonder where they got the 23.
That was what their estimate average was supposed to be. So, and my thought process is, where did that estimate come from? Is it not working the way that they anticipated
yeah.
it to work,
That's what I
or
was gonna ask, yeah.
or what happened?
Because the panels should, they know how much their panels should generate.
Well, there's all sorts of factors though, other than just the panels. There's the snow load and the, weather, bunch of different things that affect it. And, and of course, they're incentivized to estimate high
Mm-hmm.
because they get to keep your money. And,
For a year.
Especially when they're not,
yeah, especially when they
they're not,
don't reconcile at all.
right.
So,
No, go ahead.
so they need the internet to determine this. Can they go back? How far can they go back?
That was one of my questions, but ultimately, I think that we should just argue that the generation is on the CMP bills and that we reconcile from the CMP bills and go back for as long as we can get our CMP bills, and I will fight with CMP to get them back to 20. It's never been, reconciliation has never happened. So, I mean, even if we wanted to go back to 22, which is really when this debate started in 2022, because in 2021, when I talked with him, there was this whole CMP credited us for some things because some of our credits expired. It was this whole thing, but it ultimately had nothing to do with the reconciliation of the actual credits from him. But for some reason, he thinks that plays a part. So if we could just go back to 2022 and go from there to now,
Right.
we probably wouldn't have to pay for the next year with all the credits we would be due.
So thank you. I'm sorry I'm asking so many questions.
No.
It's trying to wrap my head
Me
around
too.
this.
Me too, Sue.
So okay, so you left it with him that, he offered to do an arrangement that we all agree with for this equipment, the $700.
Yeah,
equipment.
because the original agreement that he thought I was going to be okay with was that we would just pay a higher monthly payment to offset this $700, because essentially it would hide the $700. But that's not the way I budget, and that's not the way most people should budget. And either way, monthly or upfront, I don't think the town should be paying that $700.
Yeah, we don't own the equipment.
Right. And if the internet at the transfer station was that much of a problem from the beginning to when I got internet there, it should have been addressed long before then, because it was 2023 or, well, no, it had to be in 2024 sometime that he told me that we needed internet there.
Yeah,
So
we were not aware of that. They
so in
couldn't-
2022, when I started this whole debate,
Right.
there was no mention of, oh, by the way, the contract says the town will provide internet and you haven't. There was
But it's a
never,
breach of contract that actually helped him, so,
right,
I mean, essentially,
Right.
right? Like not being able to reconcile it because he didn't have the.
or
Yeah,
allegedly not
They're
being
not
able to.
usually in breach of a contract until you get notified that you're in
Right,
breach.
you'd have to be notified.
Just
right?
saying you've been in breach for 5 years, I mean, that, normally
Right.
that doesn't.
Yeah.
Hold. So he told me to call him at 9:15 and he had another call at 9:30. So I had 15 minutes to basically debate with him.
So
And
where'd
then,
you leave?
so he said that he was going to come up with a solution that worked best for all of us, but he would review the generation on the last 3 months of the CMP bills, which then turned into having to call CMP and have them emailed to us because their e-billing was all messed up. But I did send those to him last week.
Last
So
week, okay. How much time should we give him?
Tomorrow?
This has been going on and on,
Seriously,
right?
though.
I know. We just need
Seriously.
Well,
closure.
you're not paying them, it's not as.
Oh, we can call him tonight while we're having our meeting.
be like, hello, this is the Monson Select Board and the rest of the friends.
I mean, at some point, just let us know what
Yeah.
heavy hands we need to,
I think if we don't have anything by our May 8th meeting is 2.5 weeks away, 3 weeks. If we don't have anything by that point, we can. I personally want to say, come get your equipment and we'll move on with our lives. But I understand there's more. It's more complex than that. So we
And
figured out
we did determine that it's actually saving you money if they reconcile.
if they reconcile.
right.
But it's costing
exactly.
us more, not reconciling.
Right. So that's our goal, is we
Right.
just want it reconciled.
Now that you're not paying them, then
They were sending, the invoices to weird places and they slipped through the cracks for like a year and they never reached out. So I don't think that payment is real. For whatever reason, I have no idea.
Yeah, they're getting
No.
government subsidies.
but it cuts into the reconciliation that they do you.
Right.
Yeah, so it's more of a tangled web, like usual, but we're working on it. And at least now we have 15 minutes of conversation under our belt versus months of being ignored.
All right.
The other thing is, if there is something wrong with it that they could fix, that
Right.
would save you some money.
Right,
Right.
that too, which I guess would be the only upside of getting that piece of equipment, that envoy thing that he needs,
Mm.
and having the internet down there would be to be able to tell if something is
Yeah.
not working and why it's only generating.
Why wasn't this brought up at the beginning? Like, that's the part that drives me crazy.
It may have been, but the people who were in these chairs at that time, you know.
We're significantly different. I'll just leave it at that.
Glenn, I'm curious, just like who oversees, like, there's gotta be a consumer protection agency that oversees this. Is it PUC?
PUC and the public advocate.
Okay, all right. Just to file that away. All right.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. Any other questions related to town solar? No? Okay, moving on. All right. To that. So I guess the actually I have two more. So, this is kind of a committee thing, if I can find it. The cemetery committee, right here, has proposed this sign to be hung up at the cemeteries, and it basically says, remove flowers decorations before October 30th prior to fall cleanup. Wreaths are permitted throughout the holiday season, but must be removed prior to May 1st. Items remaining after those dates will be discarded. And then it just has a little thing about the cemetery cleaning kits and where they can be found and purchased. And it was the idea to have a sign made and placed at the cemeteries, yes?
Yeah.
And I think that sounds great.
Like a metal sign or something
Yeah.
that will.
Yeah.
So say a lot of the other cemeteries have
Yeah.
something like that posted.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, see, told you. Okay, so that was just something quick and painless.
We don't need to vote on that or anything.
No.
It's just yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy.
And then I guess the last update I have that's not on the agenda, would just be a road committee update. We had a meeting 2 Tuesdays ago, maybe last Tuesday. I don't know. They all kind of run together these days. And we went out and started doing our field trips, and our goal is to do a field trip once a month throughout the summer to get a better inventory of culverts, ditching that we want, mapping out where the culverts actually are, the conditions of the culverts. And so we started on the Deggerstrom Road, where we plan on doing work this summer and measuring where we want to put the new ditching and where we want the water to flow and those kinds of things. And so that's in a nutshell. So our next field trip, so to speak, will be the Bears Falls Road and the North Guilford Road. So that's basically in a nutshell of what we're working on right now.
Is there a kind of discussion plan, like to formulate, like years ago, we talked about having a long-term like road plan?
Yeah, so basically, that is the end goal, but what we'd like to do is get a full inventory of what culverts really need to be replaced and the conditions of each road.
Right,
So once we have an inventory of the roads and what the status of the ditching and the culverts, we'll know which roads to start with and how to work.
right, you
our
get
way-
that on that schedule or whatever.
Right,
Okay.
and that way,
Sorry.
we can say culvert X, Y, and Z will be replaced this year, and then
Lucas Butler wanted me to remind you that he has all this in his head, if you need his input.
so kind of him. So kind.
I
Duly
told
noted.
you.
But in the meantime of all our road trips, has Steve thought about just going around and checking the culverts to see if things are plugged up from the spring thaw and?
It's been mentioned on my behalf to him that that is something that we should consider on our spring duties. And at one point in time, I made a list of what spring duties would entail, and that was on there. But maybe,
Got looked over?
maybe we could revisit that. But that's one of the things that we tread lightly on. So, yeah, so that's in a nutshell what we've been doing with the road committee.
Thank you, it was a big nutshell.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. Okay, and I know you've been busy, but as far as budget reports, everything like year-to-date looking.
Yes, the only thing that I guess is an area of concern is legal fees, but we really kind of can't do much about that in this moment in time, so.
Understand.
That's really the only thing that jumps out to me.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, select board reports. Aaron, anything?
No, everything should be on here.
Okay. No? All right, I'll volunteer then. And this is mostly stuff that I look at the previous minutes and go, okay, I wonder what is
I wonder
happening.
what we did
So-
with that, yeah.
Did you get a new laptop?
No, but we did pay for half of it today, so the deposit has been made,
Okay.
and I don't know what the disconnect was there. I thought I was waiting for them to send me a quote so that I could approve the quote so that they can order it. And they thought that I said that I needed some more time to think about if we were
Oh.
going to order a new laptop. I don't know what the disconnect was there, but it's moving forward,
It's
and
moving. How soon will you have it?
I don't know. They have to then come up and transfer everything off the broken laptop to the new laptop. So we'll have to schedule that in too, because like this past week and the week before, if they said that they were coming to switch things over, I'd be like, no, you will ruin my life. I have way too much, way too much for you to be playing out there. God forbid if you lose something, I will
right.
be.
Back up.
Can they come up on days when you're not here and do that? So it doesn't interfere?
If I was here too, sure.
Mhm.
Which I mean, I
Well, if you left it for them,
You don't trust him?
no, not really.
okay,
That's a control freak thing,
Control
but, anyways, so
Okay,
working on it,
sorry.
that's okay.
I don't mean to beat that dead horse anymore. Let's see, Jake was working, we talked about Jake working on that map for the EV charging station of the businesses and putting the two maps together.
The two maps together, yes, and she has been working on the town report a lot lately,
I
so
know,
that's,
I know.
but it hasn't fallen
It
off
hasn't
the-
been forgotten.
It hasn't been forgotten, no,
That's
and,
all I,
but she is planning on doing that. yes.
Okay. all right. And transfer station, we talked about the broken compactor and, what did we say? Oh, Marty was gonna get a quote. Do we know?
I don't
anything?
have one yet.
All right. Again, just a little loose sight.
Yeah,
Okay. The black sidewalk streetlights, well, black sidewalk. Was that
the
right?
black streetlights on the
Black
sidewalks,
lights, right.
are those the ones you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm just reading from the minutes here. Black sidewalk lights.
Yeah,
Next Wednesday.
They're gonna be good?
Well, that's
Well-
when, the
He's gonna
electrician's
look
gonna meet with Steve and they're gonna try to assess. He needed to
Wait,
get it to the ground. He thinks
Yeah.
the problem's underground, so
Yeah.
whatever he finds. But he's scheduled.
Okay, awesome. And, the shoreline zoning ordinance, Alina, you were gonna get back or ask them about the CEO being the designee for basic questions?
right, because that was our last, updated version of the shoreline zoning ordinance. And, she told me to email it to her, and I did,
Okay,
and I
Just
haven't heard
waiting.
anything back, so.
okay.
She wasn't 100% sure if with such a insignificant change, if it would have to go through the whole review process and be signed by the
Oh.
commissioners again. Or she wasn't sure which way it was gonna go, but she was gonna let me know, so.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, we talked about solar already. We mentioned at the last meeting about the municipal building grant and talking about that, and was mention of, there's a sentence in here, the town may also consider acquiring property on Garage Street and putting the public works garage there. And I was just wondering, doesn't the town have some property back? Garage Street, right?
Fire
Oh.
department.
The fire department.
Fire department, oh, okay.
And the only, like, it's shaped very weird,
Mm,
and there's like less than a half an acre or something to that effect. So there's not a whole lot of buildable
mm,
land there, because once you get your setbacks, you're pretty much, and the way it's shaped is it kind of is like an L, so it goes this way and then goes this way. So there's not like a triangle or a rectangle or anything that you could be like, okay, in the middle here, because there is no middle.
Right,
It's an L shaped.
but it belongs to the fire department?
Was that something that Paul Allen had done back in the day, or
No, John Ruck.
John Rushing?
Yeah. Is it
Which
where his
Essentially, the
barn was?
town and
Yeah.
the fire department
He
are
donated
one,
it to.
but I think
land
then
to the fire.
it wasn't as clear.
Oh. So, yeah, seems kind of weird, like, is it town property now?
I mean,
I remember this conversation a year or two ago. And that was the discussion then.
a department can't own
Yeah,
a,
I know it's not high on our priority right now, but it's it's probably something that we
but
should.
also at the same time, and I'm gonna watch how I say this. There's very little we can do with said property in this moment in time, so almost stepping over the war line to be like, this is actually ours.
It's probably not worth it.
It's probably not worth it,
Right.
in my personal opinion, in this moment in time.
Right.
No,
So
it's-
if we had an idea or something, I wouldn't hesitate to approach it, but I also don't wanna just be like, that's mine, not yours.
I know.
To have,
I mean, if
It's
it
just-
was,
it's
if
odd.
it was even worth divesting the town of, like selling, but it sounds like it's not a buildable lot.
It's not
so-
buildable.
Not really, no.
So it's not,
Unless
there's not a lot of value there.
I mean, we could put like a storage shed or something on it and
Or
use
less-
it for storage.
unless owners of properties adjacent want to purchase it.
Right, which owners adjacent also don't pay property taxes on time and stuff, but,
All right,
Okay,
so
is a dead horse.
that is,
Okay.
we got lots of those not running around.
Sorry.
I mean, we can add
Pick
that
on
to the
horses.
list of stuff to deal with way down. the
Yeah,
road.
Did you find anything more about the plow contract at the gym with Libra?
No, I have not.
Okay. We have time to
Yes,
negotiate that.
yes,
All right, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's all I had. I take up so much time because I have so many questions.
that's okay, because you keep us in mind.
I just, what always gets me is that we lose sight of
Sight
things
of
we've
these little
discussed, and I
things,
just don't want to lose sight of things, and because then we waste our time in the future rehashing things.
Yep. I totally am with you.
All right, thank you. Town committee reports. Sandra, beautification
Cleanup day Saturday, come play in the rain.
and plant sale.
Plan sale about Memorial Day weekend. You're in charge of that one, not me.
Oh, I am.
Well, I'm not here. I told you guys that.
That's all right.
So, those are coming up for beautification. Collaborative doesn't really have anything new to report. The sculptures should be showing up at some point. Hopefully before the road gets torn up.
So is that, like the money has been raised?
I think there's enough money to get them here,
Really?
the last I heard, so.
Okay. Awesome.
And I think that's all I have.
Thank you. Going sort of alphabetical order, cemetery.
Yes, we met today and, we mentioned the sign and we're gonna have cleanup day next Tuesday. To try and clean up the stuff that's been left over the winter in cemeteries. Except for one special place that has brand new flowers and we've been told, don't take those.
Oh.
Because we did last year.
She just put it there.
You'll live and you'll learn.
Oh, timing.
And she remembered to call me right up this year.
She called Cindy too.
Oh, I bet.
Covered all our bases.
And I thought it was you guys that did it. I thought it was David Ray's people. So she actually called him. And then she called me back after I told her that. And then she's like, he said it wasn't him. They don't do that. And I was like, you're right. It was the cemetery people. I remember now.
Those damn cemetery people.
Yeah. I said, I will pass the message along.
Thank you, Glenn.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Do we know anything from recreation committee?
No.
Nothing? Okay. All right, next on the agenda is CEO report.
No, yeah.
Just out
So-
of curiosity, is there anything about the lights at Robinson's on there?
Yes,
There
there
is.
is.
Oh,
It was
good.
one of my questions that I didn't ask, so I saw it on here. He says A. Robinson say they have parts coming to fix the lighting problem.
That's what they told Aaron 2 months ago.
Well, that's what they told me 2 months ago too, so.
Well, did they say that, did he just write this wrong? He'd say they have parts and they are coming?
Or have parts coming.
I don't know the answer to that.
There's no comma
I'll
there.
ask tomorrow morning.
No,
I've got some paint hanging around my house. I'm sure I could solve the problem with that.
It would be helpful.
Make sure you get the cameras first.
Yeah, good point.
I know that you're gonna work.
yeah,
with
so please give me any suggestions.
Kent,
because
right. So what we really need, and I mentioned this prior meeting, is addresses or locations of these properties.
Okay, addresses or locations of permits
Of,
and,
yes,
and letters,
of all
correct.
properties,
If there's
permits.
something on this list, we probably should have an address.
Yeah, and dates of when things were done and dates of when things follow up or
Well,
deadline.
there's a lot of deadlines will be issued next month, and it's like, well, it would be nice to know,
like, okay, so send April 2nd,
right,
then
May 2nd.
May, yeah.
Fall, you know what I mean, like having,
Right.
I'm just asking because I want my report to be perfect, so.
And, this templates and examples from the other towns that
Yeah.
I shared with you.
Okay.
Just, for transparency's sake, and understanding. Because as I drive around town, I'm wondering like, oh, is that on the list or?
Was that solar permit from you?
I don't know.
No.
Maybe my name should be there, right?
No, it's, Marilee Smith's house.
Oh,
Where is that?
Chapin
so just a private system.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
and then there's this one call about splitting a lot that will create a subdivision. Is that what he told the person, or did he refer them to the planning
Yeah,
board?
They've been
Okay.
referred to the planning board.
Okay.
It's
The
coming
planning board's gonna discuss it
at some point.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's in touch with James,
Whatever.
they're working it out.
at the next
perfect.
meeting.
Next week.
But also, it could say referred to planning
That
board
was
on there.
Right.
Okay, referred.
Because if just a statement about splitting a lot, it will create a subdivision, right, and there's a process for creating a subdivision. And as long as that's the next step, and it wasn't just a verbal, yeah, you're gonna create a subdivision. No, not good enough.
And I don't mean to micromanage at all, but just
No.
throwing out suggestions, like,
Yeah.
I think some of this, if it's helpful, I know when I had to do reports at school, regular basis, that there's some things I'm always reporting on, and it's almost like a checklist, like,
Right.
yep, it's inquiry about a subdivision, and then refer to planning board, check.
Right.
Or a
Right.
date on
Right.
that or something.
I mean, I was
Just
thinking
because
this,
it would pique your memory.
right, or a simple spreadsheet that
Oh, that's going way too far.
yes. Perfect. So I don't have any other
Spreadsheet's no
questions
simple.
on this one.
Anything else, Aaron, or you?
No, that's about it for what I see.
All right, on to old business. We did DOT. Snowplow contract?
Okay. So I have the snowplow contract for you guys to sign if you feel comfortable. But if you don't feel comfortable after I review it with you, we can revisit it at the May 8th meeting. So I will just basically highlight what I've changed and we can go from there. So one of the other things, so if you do choose to accept it, we can make the motion to accept it, and then you guys can come in and sign it, because what I would like to include that Justin pointed out at like 5:30, so I didn't have a chance to change it, is there's no like distance of these on the contract.
Oh,
So it would just be nice to have like a total
the
somewhere.
roads, right.
Because we don't have a specific, like, there's 27 miles, there's nothing like that in here. So I just think that's kind of important to include.
Yeah.
So I will, I can do that fairly quickly tomorrow, so if you guys stop by tomorrow afternoon and sign it or whatever, or again, May 8th, whatever. So the biggest things that I changed was, in the previous contract, it said that we switched out the Blanchard Road for the Barrows Falls Road, but that's not the case anymore because the contractor in Blanchard doesn't want to do that. So it just says to town line and then from town line to town line instead of picking up, well, we do pick up our plow and just drive to the Barrows Falls Road, but that's just, when snow on pavement has reached the depth of 2 inches and the snow shall not be allowed to accumulate more than 3.5 inches at any point during the storm. The 2 inches is something that I changed because it used to be 2.5, and I think that 2 is just very concise, and we're not half inching snow out on the roads. So most of this stuff stays the same. I just fixed many typos and made things a little bit more.
Was there stipulation in there as far as pay will be withheld if?
I'm getting it.
You're just saying everything
saving
stayed
the
the
best
same,
till last.
so.
This part is different. So one of the things that I removed before I get to that part was there was a piece about a performance bond, but it was only mentioned in one part of the contract in the failure to perform part, but there was no like requirement anywhere else in the contract that said he must have a performance bond. So it said that we can access the funds in the performance bond, but never said that he's required to have one.
Silly
So-
question, what's the performance bond?
I Googled it, so I know. So it's basically fun.
funds that, are secured by either an insurance company or a bank. And what they're doing is, insuring the work, and so if, and it can be for up to however many dollars, and then if he doesn't perform the work, then they pay for that, and then he would be liable to reimburse them for whatever they paid us. But it seemed like it was real overkill, and the people who usually have those things are on a way larger scale than this, so,
Yeah, because usually your companies have to work up from small scale even to get bonded. You can't just say, I'm a contractor, I want to be bonded and go do bridges.
right, so, yeah, it seemed overkill.
Right.
So you took that out.
Yeah, so I took that part out because it was either take it out or put another section in that required the bond, and I just was like, I don't feel like that's what we're really trying to accomplish here. So this part, the failure to perform part, took some significant thought of how I wanted to word this. So this basically says that in the event of a breach, the town shall immediately give oral notice to the contractor. The contractor shall then be required to perform in accordance with that notice in a reasonable time, the specific duration of which shall be stipulated as part of the oral notice given to the contractor. Reasonable time may vary depending on the nature of the breach, the road, and the weather conditions. In the event that the contractor has not performed the duties required of the contractor in accordance with the notice given by the town in a reasonable time, the town shall have the following options. So this basically means if I call him and say, the North Guilford Road hasn't been plowed, and he doesn't, and I say I would like it to be plowed within an hour or 2 hours, and he doesn't plow it in an hour, 2 hours, then we have these following options. So the first one would be to withhold a penalty. The town may withhold a $500 penalty or recoupment of any cost incurred by the town for labor, materials, and equipment, whichever is greater. So say, Steve ended up having to sand the Homer Hill Road and the Pleasant Street Hill because that's not too far-fetched. If that happened, we could figure out what our cost of having Steve do that work, and whichever is greater, $500 or the cost to have Steve do it, would be deducted from. So penalty or recoupment cost, if applicable, will be withheld from payment on a monthly basis. Verbal notice of penalty or recoupment cost shall be provided by the town immediately per occurrence with written documentation to be included with monthly payment. So I would just basically have to say, hey, this is one of those times that we're taking $500 out of your check. And then at the end of the month, when we do take the $500 out of his check, we have, didn't return call for 48 hours, $500.
Right. And the attorney.
So he didn't read the verbiage, but I gave him the lowdown of what I wanted it to say basically, and what my goal was. And he said, I can put whatever I want in it. Basically.
My only question or concern is, I understand the oral notification, you're trying to call and say, we need this road plowed, but some written documentation that's been done.
Well, that's why I included with written documentation to be included. So we're not sending him a letter
But that's
every
at the
time.
end, and that's at the end of the month with the bill. I'm just wondering at the time that we.
Well, we would have to make some sort of documentation to keep for our records anyways, to then put with that.
Right.
I didn't want it to seem like we are going to send him written notification at every occurrence, because if he doesn't answer my call 3 times in 1 week, well, technically that's $1,500 that I get to keep, and I'm not mailing him 3 letters that say that. I can specifically say, so I just wanted the written confirmation not to have to be submitted to him but once a month.
Okay. I'm just thinking of any contract, of having both parties, that it'd be fair that they agree that, yes, this was done. And so that even if it's a quick email to follow up, the next day, hey, just to follow up.
the 90% of our interactions is through text message anyway, so I'm gonna
Okay.
have some sort of
Okay.
notion anyways.
Sounds good.
And I personally, like, I write everything down because I don't remember anything. So if I write it down, then that was real. And so like, I would just have, call Chad at X number, blah, blah, blah,
Right,
at what time. And then have the follow-up, what happened, whether it's, because that's what I've been doing anyways, whether he called me back, all right, he called me back at this time, or he just went out and did it, or whatever the follow-up happened after, I always include that in
Okay.
whatever I have. But, so that would be our first option. And then the second option would be to terminate the contract, which was in the original contract. And then substitution, so in the event of a breach of contract caused by failure of the contract to perform according to the terms of the contract, the town may require a substitute contractor to plow or sand the roads for any period of time that the town considers necessary. So, like, if Arvo needed to plow the Blanchard Road, we could then take that from the money that we owe Chad to pay Arvo for plowing that particular road. So the substitute shall be paid the remaining of any money due to the contractor not yet earned under his contract.
One more thing before you leave that part.
Okay,
Only thing I can see that would bother me is the fact that the only way you can withhold money is after you've called him to tell him to do his job. Because he could take that as, well, I'll just wait until she calls me to go out and plow the road. I mean, he knows what he's supposed to do, so we should be able to
but I
withhold money.
technically, like,
Withhold the money if he doesn't get out and do his job, because and I'm not saying he would do that, but somebody, I know some previous contractors that's what they would do, is they would wait until the town called them and said, hey, how come you guys aren't plowing? Okay.
but
we'll go
technically, the way that this contract is written, it says that, you start plowing at 2 inches regardless. So if at 2 inches he isn't plowing, he's already in violation, and I can already take $500 off the top if I call him and say, hey, by the way, there's 2 inches not on the ground and you haven't plowed it yet.
But
That's a
you've got
penalty.
written in there in a reasonable time after I call him.
But that, like, you have to give notification that they're in violation of a breach of contract regardless. And so, like, I see what you're saying.
That's what you were trying to say, but you also said if it's not done in a specific amount of time after I call, then I can withhold money.
I would say like, in that case, it would be like if it would be for something random, like that he wouldn't otherwise know about unless he got a phone call. But like the general day-to-day stuff, excuse me, like sanding Pleasant Street, that is a recurring problem, like every single time it rains, So I don't know if we would need to, and one should know that if it's raining, you check all the dirt roads, like because they become very icy. So something like that, I would think that there would be no reason why we would have to call them and tell them about that. And usually Steve just up and goes and does it, which isn't good. And I've told him lots of times not to do that, but when people are calling and they gotta go
He
to
just
work
does
and they
it.
gotta go to school and he gets that, so.
But that would be taken off on
Exactly,
this.
exactly.
I see what you're saying here. I just don't know how to make it so that if he just doesn't go out without asking him to go out, because we technically have to tell him he's in breach of contract before we can penalize him.
Is that what the
Well,
lawyer
if he
said?
doesn't, say we get 6 inches of snow on the road, you call him up, you say, you're in breach of contract, you're not getting paid.
Well, yeah, we could potentially do that, because if there's 6 inches on the entire town, there's no way he'd be able to plow the whole entire town in the hour that I give him to clean clean up his 6 inches. So then I would be able to be like, so, and if there was 6 inches of snow, we would potentially be like, okay, now we need somebody else to, so then we'd have to charge him for that. And so like, I feel like there's ways around, like when he really messes up, that's.
Oh, he knows it.
Yeah,
He
and
realizes
this,
it, but-
I mean, this is significantly better than where we started, because before it was to terminate the contract or find somebody else to do it. And that's just not feasible. So I think, like if, this isn't gonna fix all of our problems, but I think that after a few $500 because you don't answer my phone calls, that might change the attitude a little bit. Because one of the things in the contract, so before I finish this section, one of the things that I also changed was, so the telephone communication part. So it says, on or before September 1st of each year of this contract, the contractor shall designate one or more telephone numbers by which the contractor can be reached during every storm. Additionally, all phone calls from the town or the town's agent will be answered or returned within 1 hour unless other arrangements have been made. So that means if I call or text within 1 hour, I need some sort of response, and it doesn't result in us waking up his employee to go then plow the roads. So then, by adding the phone call needs to be answered or returned, by adding that to the contract, that then highlights that's a breach of contract, and that results in a $500 penalty if you're not doing those things. So, again, I'm open to some suggestions here. This was the bare minimum that we needed. We needed some sort of big stick or something.
Oh, and I do like the idea. I just see a little loophole, potentially.
There's always loopholes, but
Well, bottom line is we want to make this work.
right. And I think that this particular contract serves the town better than the previous contract or previous contracts in the past, because I mean, historically, since I've been here, so even before I left, so 2018, we've had problems with the snowplow contract. So I don't think this will fix all of our problems, but I think that if we have some sort of, disciplinarian actions that we can use, maybe they won't act out so bad. I don't
As
know.
far as the payment schedule, we had talked
Okay,
about.
so that was another one of the changes. So previously we were paying 30% in September. And then equal payments with 10% at the end. So I changed it to have 10% and then 7 equal payments following after. So that was my thoughts. Again, any suggestions I'm open to. And even maybe the $500 is too much, is too little, I don't know. But per occurrence, that could add up over time.
Yeah, I mean, because he's getting more than $500 every time he goes out and plows,
Right.
so.
Right.
That's,
Would it help, I was just thinking if you wanted to look at the actual
Wording.
document, to email that to us?
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, I didn't have it finished until today, so.
that's okay, and then we can.
So it sounds like we'll hold off till
Okay.
May
All right,
and finalize it.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
shouldn't be getting any snow anytime soon.
I hope not.
Right. No, and I touched base with him on Tuesday. He came in to get a posted road permit. And I told him that I would share the contract with you guys tonight. I just didn't know if we would be acting on it or if it would be at our May meeting, and he said that's fine.
Does he have an inkling of the proposed changes?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, he does.
And the price was in there?
For his price?
Yeah.
That we have.
Yeah, so
4
it would be
years.
$240 for 4 years. So yeah, I will send this to you guys for you to review and go over, and then if you do have any suggestions or thoughts, just let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing.
There's a lot of work you put into that, I know.
Well, it was mostly trying to figure out like, how do I word this? I know what I want to say, but how do I put it in a contract language?
Yeah. It would have been easier.
Lots of words.
Lots of words and then reuse of said words. And then I wrote it down on a piece of paper, gave it to Marty. She rearranged the words, and I'm like, I had all the right words, they were just in the wrong spots. And she's like, oh yeah.
All right, municipal building grant update.
All right, hang on just a second. Let me move some of my. All right, so the municipal building grant for CDS was submitted on April 13th. It was submitted to both Susan Collins and Angus King. I was here until like midnight or something like that.
Thank you.
And I thought that, when Carol Woodcock came and kind of talked with us, she had given me the application from last year from Susan Collins. So I was able to like pregame myself for filling all that information out. And I thought, oh, okay, I can just copy and paste and put it into the Angus King one. I was so far wrong that none of the questions were the same.
Oh.
So when I got to the Angus King grant, I was basically copy and pasting parts of the narrative that we used for the Susan Collins one and putting it into, because the questions weren't the same. So some of it made sense for the question and some of it didn't. So it was like piecing it together without rewriting a whole new narrative.
It's weird that they're different.
For the same money.
Right.
It makes no sense. And also, I was able to submit for a 10% match for Susan Collins, but a 5% match for Angus King. So I have no idea what the actual match will be, but they decide anyways,
Right.
how much of the project they want to fund anyways. So you submit what your wish list is essentially. And then they're like, sure, we'll fund this much, or we'll fund the whole thing, or whatever it may be. And then we probably won't know anything until October even.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
sure thing.
I thought you did a great job though on gathering data and the rationale and
Thank you.
yeah, that was, I thought well done.
Because that was so far out of my comfort zone that it's a little daunting for things that you're just,
It was a daunting project.
yeah, it's a large project, that's for sure. And I put a lot of research into it because, again, I don't know the specific things that they're looking for, but I do know the specific things that are real for this town. And all of those facts are real for this
Yeah.
town.
Yeah, the impact on the town and
Yeah.
the safety and health and welfare, you
Yeah.
know?
And to find out that we essentially play a role in over an eighth of the entire state is pretty cool.
Yeah, and fire and medical,
So, yeah. So that's that.
All right, thank you. All right, on to new business. Do we want to do ATV
Yeah.
club first?
Yeah.
You've been sitting so patiently back there.
It's not a problem.
The fire department sign will take 5 seconds if you
Okay.
wanna just
Let's do it in
do
order.
that out.
All right.
So essentially the sign that was on the building
Mm.
before we made the door higher, he told me. Who was it?
I don't know, I don't remember. And it
Oh,
won't even come
anyways,
to me.
I wanna say McDermott,
Maybe.
mother-in-law. That sign was,
The Susan Blatchford.
yes, okay, so his niece wants to know if we are gonna put that sign back up, and if we're not, she would like it.
Sure.
That was my general consensus too.
Well, I think it's gotta go back up.
But
Well,
doesn't
that-
it say, what's it say
It
exactly?
says Monson Volunteer Fire
Yeah.
Department.
Because she left a lot of money to them, I believe.
I don't know, because the family's asking for the sign, so I don't know.
Because we're not a volunteer fire department anymore.
And the sign itself is falling apart. Like, I don't think it's worth putting back up. So,
Was there plans for a new sign?
yes. I don't know what the actual
Cost.
Yeah, and the fire department had their own thoughts of what they wanted for a sign, but.
Because most towns just have municipal fire department, Monson Municipal Fire Department. Makes sense.
I wouldn't have a problem getting rid of the sign as long as there was a plaque or something. Just to, recognize that she did donate. In the past.
Yeah. What was her name again?
Susan Blatchford. She used to own the camps down on Stevens Lane, Bernie's Abbott's places.
Oh, okay. Okay, that was more than 5 seconds, but.
Yeah, but, so
That's how we roll.
if we had a plaque, we would be okay with giving the sign to the family, is that
Yes.
the, okay?
I assumed it didn't go up because it was in such a rough shape.
It is, and so the family contacted Chuck and asked what we were doing.
I mean, if
with
they
it.
want us to put the sign back up, then I'm also open to that, like.
I don't think
but
that
if
was
they want the sign.
yeah, I think it was more like,
I'm happy.
we'll have it.
Yeah. Okay.
And when we do give it to them, just let them know that we will memorialize it with a plaque or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
I made note of that, so.
Okay. All right. ATV club contract.
Larry Daggett with the Avid Explorers.
Hi, Larry.
I'm the Trail Master. There's a pair of, so in case you lose one, there's a copy of it. So periodically, we have agreements with the towns for the use of a particular road. The section of road that we use is spelled out in there. It is from where the Abbott town line to the Monson town line, going towards Blanchard until just after the Barrows Falls Bridge. And then we turn off and go up onto Warehouser property. We typically ask for like a 3-year, 4-year type thing. Previously, with the other select boards, it was either we want to do 1 year or we don't know what we're doing, we're reviewing the process, we're overlooking to see what's gonna go on, and it's kind of falling through the cracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering, we seem to always have like an annual contract.
Yeah,
And I
and
didn't-
the other towns will do 3 to 5 years,
Okay.
so that you don't have to deal with it every year.
Yeah.
Because it's already written in there that if there is an issue and it changes
Mhm.
for whatever reason, 30 days notice, we're out. It's already, there's already that
An escape route.
procedure in there to do that.
Right.
And we do that, so.
Okay.
Typically, we've had some speeding issues. Our biggest bother for us is we don't get the enforcement from the sheriff's department or the warden service.
Mm.
We as a club can't enforce anything. We had people say, well, because we actually closed that road
I remember.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
And a lot of people got upset and threatened to sue me personally. They wanted to sue the town of Abbott. It caused a lot of problems because several people said, we have Airbnbs on Whetstone and we can't afford them unless we have that trail open. Should have thought of that before you let your Airbnb people run amok.
Mm.
So we did close it, and we
Yeah.
can close it, and we will close it.
Yeah, I follow your Facebook page and you guys have been very diligent about reminding people.
And we had the comment, oh, well, we didn't see the signs. Well, now there are 4 foot by 4 foot square signs
People still want to see it. No.
that have all the information on it, so there's no excuse to not see the signs.
Yeah.
So we do, as a club, we do try to do very diligent. Thankfully, the way that the municipal grants work, which we have with the town of Abbott, we have a 10/90. So the club raises 10%, we put our money into it, Abbott Town basically just sponsors us. And we typically have been putting around 75,000 a year in. And this past year, the state wanted some extra things for part of the Monson Trail. So we wound up spending $112,000 last year in our trails. So we, along with that, when I say the Monson Trail, we work with the Monson Snowmobile Club.
Right.
They, Snowmobile Club grants are for machinery more than anything else. The ATV grants don't allow machinery. So we made a deal with the Snowmobile Club. You give us X amount of money, I'll make sure we do 10 times that work on your trail. So in the past, they've given us 1,000, we've done 10,000. They give us 1,500, we do this year. The agreement with Steve is that we're gonna, and Jeffrey is, they're gonna do $2,000, we're gonna do $20,000. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
One other comment from the past boards. When this trail was originally brought into Monson and it was set up, that the flow of traffic was going with traffic down Water Street.
Right.
A previous board absolutely said, nope, we don't like that, and they changed all of the signs on us. It makes no sense because every place you're going, you're crossing traffic.
Right,
It's the way it's set up now,
right,
you cross traffic every place, and you're crossing the road on the corner by Robinson's.
right.
Our original plan was down where they live, we come off the railroad bed, we come up that street, come off from the Wilmanic Road onto the North Guilford Road with traffic. You come off from the North Guilford Road with traffic onto 15. You come onto Water Street away from traffic. Just something for the board to consider because that part of that is all under the board's control,
Okay,
not the club.
okay. We were kind of wondering, because
So if, sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
If we wanted to change that, would you guys be willing to come like help us change?
Yeah, we do the signs as it
Okay.
is.
Yeah.
Anyways, we put up signs.
So we just changed them?
You just give us permission to run it the correct way, if that's what you want to do.
Okay. So like before, did we just go change them and?
That's interesting.
Okay.
Because we were looking at this map.
Yeah, so does this map look familiar to you in any way?
No.
No? Okay, so this map is on our website and it appears none of us know where it had originated from.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's
And,
nothing from us.
and also it doesn't even have Elliottsville on it. It also doesn't have North Guilford Road or Willimantic. It has this says Willimantic Loop. So, but
We
so maybe
should
we can,
coordinate in making a new.
right, so if we can,
Would love to work with you on that.
okay,
Sounds
okay,
good.
cause maybe that's something,
It
No,
makes-
because I think that one of the big concerns is the safety of both you guys
Yeah.
riding the trails and also cars on the road.
Yeah.
And so if we can make that'll make more sense.
And I know there's always gonna be the people that aren't gonna follow the loop, you know, a lot of
50% of them don't now.
Yeah.
so, just correct me if I'm wrong, so you're saying that you come up the Willimantic Road and come on to North Guilford
Correct.
and
So
then
you come
into
off the trail by Brian.
We come off, the trail crosses the road by Brian's
Right.
Railroad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Right now, they cross the road by Brian's, continue to Water
Water
Street,
Street.
and then
up
come
Water Street.
Water
up
Street.
Chapin Ave
and then
into town.
into town. And from town, they go back to the North Guilford Road.
Every
And then
turn
North
you
Guilford
cross is the other.
No,
way.
no, it makes,
Right.
I see what you're saying, and that's exactly what this confusing map says too, is to go down Willimantic Road and then through to,
Additions that have been
Through.
made to that we don't, I won't say that we don't own as such, but Wilmanic opened up their roads in the whole town to ATVs.
Mm,
So that meant previously, we didn't have the road open past Bryant's.
right,
It was not open. Our club did not want it open. We didn't ask to open it.
right.
All of a sudden, there were residents asking to go there. So the town said, yeah, we're gonna open that.
Yeah.
And then Wilmanic opened theirs, so now you have a loop going around there.
Mm.
That's, our goal was requested, residents in Monson came to the club and requested, we want a trail into the town of Abbott, into the town of Monson. So we went through the process and we complied with opening a trail up the railroad bed shared with the snowmobile club. And then after that, previous to that, we only had the Barrows Falls Road. And that's to make the connection from the Abbott to the railroad bed.
Okay, I didn't realize that history.
So that's a
Yeah.
little history lesson.
Yeah, yeah. Well, definitely, I agree, the safety is the utmost concern.
and also,
We'll just
So the
delete that.
Elliottsville part of that is a different club.
Right,
right,
And we had several conversations, Brian, at the time, Brian Bronson was the head of the ATV program, and he was here one night for a previous board. And technically, from Water Street to the Elliottsville Road
Mhm.
is beyond the 1,500 feet. And it was an illegal attack, it was illegal connection.
right, and we
But the
worked,
town wanted to go ahead and do that.
right, and we, last year, brought that issue up with the Elliottsville, group, and through Bill Beaker, helped them apply to DOT for
An extension.
an extension, which I understand Bill told me a few months ago they got. So that was another question. I know it doesn't pertain to your group, but we need to connect with that group, get the signage on Route 15. So they're coming into town and should go down Water Street, right? Because I see all sorts of ATVs just going through town to Robinson's, coming out Blanchard Road.
They come down 15 from Monson into Abbott. They come from Guilford to Dover down Route 15.
Wow,
They're running wherever they want
I
to.
know.
And unfortunately, if you talk with the sheriff's office, they say, we're sorry, but unless they're obviously drunk, we've got better things to do than enforce the traffic law because it's a warden's issue.
Right.
And you go talk with the wardens,
And it's not
and the
on.
wardens say that it's not a warden's issue
Right.
because it is on the roads, it is a traffic infraction. I have fought this fight for over 5 years.
it just doesn't make sense, but I mean, I
To me,
get
you
it,
broke the law, you broke the law. It doesn't
right, it
matter.
doesn't matter.
And whoever the law enforcement is,
And I've
Needs to
seen
do their
game
job.
wardens pulling over cars on the road all the time.
Mhm.
I'm just not one of those people, well, it's not my job.
I will throw another little nugget of information. Like you said, there's people that don't follow the law and the rules. There's a little bit of a see no evil. The last numbers out of the University of Maine for economic impact, snowmobiling, the last numbers showed that snowmobiling impact to the Maine economy was $683 million. ATV, yes, it is a longer season.
Mhm.
ATV economic impact into the Maine economy, 738 million. We're at almost $750 million economic impact from ATVs. And I think that's why you get a little bit of this from people. it just paints a bad picture for all the rest of us.
Right,
Trying to follow the rules.
right. And unfortunately, it's gonna take an accident, somebody getting hurt for
It happens,
attention.
we kill 4 or 5 a year.
Yeah.
They don't report much about it. We kill 4 or 5 a year.
And I do believe the vast majority of them, I see them all the time because I'm walking the dog down the road.
Yeah, I see you.
Most of them are always, prudent speed and obeying all the laws and stuff.
And to help facilitate that group of people that are doing that, we have proven over and over again, if you give them a place to go, they will more likely slow down because they're not in a hurry trying to get from point A to point B
Right,
to avoid the warden or the sheriff that isn't gonna get them.
right.
No, seriously, we
No,
have
that makes
shown that.
sense.
We have shown that several places, and we work with landowners that, on the Monument Road in Abbott, there were landowners that, they were adamant. We can't even sit outside at night because the tires are too noisy, they're going by. The landowners came to the town, came to the club and said, there's an old road that runs on the backside of our properties, use that.
Mm.
And we do, we go up the Monument Road, we dump off their properties, get down the backside and jump out. Everybody's happy.
I wish we could do that on the Elliottsville Road.
It's working with the landowners,
I know, I'm one of them.
Our club has 60 miles of trail in our club.
Mm.
And I have 46 landowners I have to deal with.
Wow.
Uh,
So should we,
You can peruse that and see
Yeah,
how long, read
and
through the
we can talk
contract.
about how long we want the contract and all, and then, let's work with you on updating the route for safety
Yeah,
purposes.
Yeah, because, I mean, this is a terrible map and I'm not even sure.
Can we take it off the website for now?
Yeah, take Monson ATV Club off.
Larry, thank you so much for coming and your time and
It's not a
explaining all
problem. I
this.
mean, this is part of what I have to do.
Yeah,
we appreciate it.
yeah,
It brings a lot of, it brings a lot of people into town throughout the months that the trail's active for ATVs, so, I mean, we definitely see the economic impact.
yeah. Oh, I do have one question. We talked a previous meeting really quickly about, we were mentioning like some ATVs are not going where they're supposed to go, or, on roads they shouldn't be. Is it possible, like, how do we, the town get signage, just like, end of ATV access or no ATV?
The access routes,
Yeah,
the shared routes, we have to buy them through the club. They don't pay for that with our grant money. We have to actually buy them. We purchase them at White Sign,
right,
and they are DOT compliant
okay,
that say access route, end of access route.
right,
We have those signs.
Okay.
Steve Gomes usually have been putting them up
okay,
and putting them back down.
okay,
He's not as involved with the club right now.
okay. I'm probably thinking that we need different signs that maybe the town has to purchase, that, like, over on the Blanchard Road, we talked about, no ATVs, but it's not one of your routes, so you wouldn't be
No
responsible.
people coming from Blanchard.
Yeah,
Or-
yeah,
or-
yeah,
And
You shouldn't be on this.
right,
people in Monson had approached the club and they wanted, begins with the D, you already said it.
Daggerstrom?
Deggerstrom. They wanted to come off through Warehouser property out to Deggerstrom Road. The DOT has said, no, you're not coming on that road. There are no shoulders. There's no lines of sight. There's all these reasons not to do it. People are still doing it.
yeah,
The same way, we have, the Warehouser has a section of property there that they have roads on it and they're posted no ATVs, but the residents are using it to get to the trail regardless.
yeah. So maybe we can talk about that or look into.
Yeah, and
signs.
where the Blanchard Road is a DOT road, maybe it's worth reaching out to
For
DOT
DOT.
and saying, hey, put a sign on this road.
Saying coming on, yeah, yeah.
just get in contact with me and it's better to reach out. I'm not sure of like I called the office today and told them, I said, look, I was out on vacation. I didn't know there was an earlier request.
Yeah,
I didn't know any of that stuff.
yeah, no, and, I kind of did this through Jade, and so she was kind of relaying information back and forth to me, so.
Go ahead and make a note that my direct number is 207-717-9733.
Okay.
Or you can message us on our email.
Okay.
But you call that, and that's 24/7.
Okay, awesome. Cause then we can get together and try to figure out this whole loop situation, cause.
Sure.
We talked about, Jade's a lot more computer specialty than I am. So she talked about being able to redo this, and if this isn't right, which it doesn't look like it is, so this is showing to go out towards Willimantic and then come back towards Chapin Ave, basically, and Water Street.
I
So,
think that's the way it
it's-
is right now.
That's
Right.
the way it is right now.
so we wanna switch it and go the other way.
Correct. Reverse the directions of it.
Well, it makes sense to me. So,
To me, it's a lot safer.
okay, so are we all in agreement of doing that?
Yeah, I was just wondering when it got changed, and I seem to remember somebody mentioning, maybe it was to access businesses easier, but that doesn't make sense.
I don't remember that, it being changed, I don't,
Yeah, that was before I came on, I don't,
yeah.
This was back when Rebecca was here.
Rebecca at the Lakeshore House?
oh, okay,
Yeah, so she's been gone for, I don't know,
yeah.
about 4 years.
Something like that. It was a couple of years before that.
It's an old one. So, no, I'm in favor of, yeah,
Of changing it back to the other direction and then coming up with a better
better map.
map. Okay.
Right. Will we need signage then?
Yeah, and speaking of signs, one thing that I've thought of that's triggered that, we have signs that we put up and say ATV speed limit. Some people say, we want 15 miles an hour. It is only a suggestion because it is not codified in the law.
Right,
We can post one that says 25 miles per hour because that's what the traffic,
right.
Right.
but out on your side road, if that changes to 35, then a 25 zone becomes a suggestion.
And,
Because it's not codified in the law,
right,
Right.
because the way the law is written, they will travel on the road under legal road rules
Right.
of that speed limit.
that's the issue with the Elliottsville Road. The speed limit is 45 for cars. And even though Elliottsville Club has, 25 signs, people don't go 25.
No.
It's,
And they cannot write, you talk with the wardens, talk to the sheriff's office, they can't, it's a waste of time to write a citation for that because it's thrown out automatically because it's the speed limit is 45. You can't set a separate one.
Just have to get them going 60.
Which wouldn't be hard some days.
I'm leery walking my dog some days,
Yeah.
really. I mean, most people are good about the speed, but there are some, I just
That
jump
permit
off
for
the road
everybody.
with my dog. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Not to be the dead dog to death. Larry, again, thank you very much.
That's
Appreciate it.
kind of what we do.
Where are we?
DOT Route 15 project.
Oh, yeah. I was seeing DOT and my eyes were going, didn't we just do that?
Yeah, no, that is this.
Oh.
Oh,
One question, we only had 2 copies of contract, could we have one more made so we can walk away and look at this before our next meeting?
So
You
did
guys
everybody
can
get a
go
chance to review this?
Yeah,
And is that all okay? Because if it is, then you can just go ahead and sign. I don't know. Oh, well, look at that. So this is one that we can require a bond if we want. I don't know if you want to or not.
I don't think we really have to. I mean, it's not like they're gonna be,
delinquent or?
yeah, they're not gonna be going down, the end of Forest Ave and out on the Deguston Road and.
Right.
They can repave some town roads if they like though, right?
Okay, so it looks like then that we don't have to deal with this the construction bond part.
Cause I'm assuming probably the only property that they might use would be down the transfer station
Mhm,
for material.
yeah,
It's really the only place that we have to store anything.
okay, I'm just looking for the, cause this fell off my radar after I got it and sent it and all of that
Yeah, it's been
stuff.
a while.
Okay,
You folks have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
okay, so, yeah, it looks like
Thank you.
this here is where I need to sign.
Ooh, I get a fancy pen.
Well, no, that's my fat pen so that it doesn't kill my hand. If I tried to use one of those, oh my God.
Do we need to make?
Yeah, is this, I guess we should make a
Yeah.
motion to, what's it called?
Sign?
Sign a permit?
What's the
A
first?
load limit, overload
Load.
limit. What does this say?
Over limit permit?
Right.
Okay,
So I make a motion that we approve the construction over limit permit for the DOT.
I'll second.
Which I'm not really sure why they need that anyways, because they're not really gonna be operating on any town ways.
Yeah.
Well, some of their equipment might be being hauled up on back roads, or like I said, they might use a transfer station as a storage facility for some stuff. You know, plus with trucks hauling, you know, they're not gonna be able to turn around right in Route 15, so they may have to go up around Center Street or.
I mean, do we need, we don't need to do a bond, do we?
No.
I
No.
mean,
I wouldn't,
I mean.
the
would we
state's
more
not
money?
known for messing up roads and,
Yeah.
and I'm sure if they don't have any curbs other than on Main Street, but if they were, say if there was a curb or something and they hit it with a piece of equipment, they'd probably fix it anyways.
So wait to be approved.
Oh, any further discussion? All right, all in favor? We kind of had our discussion.
I like the top line for you.
Oh, I'm gonna sign under you then.
That's just-
Aaron, you get the top line.
There's a lot of lines.
Mix it up.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
All right, town cleanup day, we talked about.
Yeah.
It's Saturday,
Yep.
one load per, it's one load, it said on the poster, right? Not
Yep.
one
Per family, yeah.
Thinking one pickup truck,
Pickup, okay, not trailer.
but there are people who may be sharing one pickup truck to do more than one property.
All
I
right,
mean, I think,
We don't need 10 trips by the same family to the dump, is what we're saying.
yeah.
Which is what you got last year.
right,
And I can foresee this end of town potentially contributing a lot.
Really? Imagine
You
that.
know, I think they're gonna save what they got.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, my husband's been saving.
the animals got into my neighbor's garage. Oh, there's trash everywhere.
Oh,
They save it up all year, I think.
all right, gym maintenance?
That was an error.
Aaron,
That was a me thing. We're getting pretty close to having a major issue with the siding up there because where
come on, bro.
those pieces have come off, when the wind blows, you look at the whole
Oh,
half of it and
gosh.
it's all just, the only thing that's holding it on is the upper pieces that are nailed in
I saw it the other
and the
day.
flanges are locked.
Facing the building, is it on the right?
Yes, going down to the ball field.
Yeah, yeah.
I spoke with Jeffrey briefly about it a little while ago and just thoughts because it's reoccurring because what the problem is siding nails are just smooth aluminum nails.
Right.
And the old clapboards, they just don't hold in it. So I had said something about maybe like galvanized nails or even a ring shank nail. He didn't think that they made a ring shank siding nail, but that's something that I don't know if Steve would want to break out his carpentry skills or whether we,
So you just want it reattached?
Some of it's blown away.
some of it's blown away and there is some down in the basement, but not enough to patch what's there.
Probably never match it either at this point,
Yeah.
That's a pretty common color. I mean, you could probably
just because of fading and
say,
stuff.
yes, yeah.
It's gonna stand out, but it needs to be
Be
done.
better than nothing, I
Right.
guess.
Right. I mean, I don't think,
I say we patch it with blue.
I don't think that the gym roof committee wants to take on the
Yeah.
gym siding committee as well. Right now, I think we could get away with patching it and reattaching what we can.
Is that something that you think Steve can, I mean, does
It's
he have
not
the, it's
complicated.
pretty high, isn't it?
It is. I will say, if you hired somebody like Killam's to do it, it would be done like that versus Steve picking away at it.
Am I allowed to have an opinion?
You can.
Okay. I think that we should just have the Kilns do it. and-
Second.
Okay.
Well,
I
and
think
I
we
was
should at
gonna
least
say,
ask them for sure.
you know,
Can they do it? Like,
Because like,
I will check with him. Jeffrey's on vacation this week. He should be back on Sunday.
It's down killing fish.
Yeah. So I'll check with him to see if they would have any lull in their action. I know as soon as the posters go down, they're gonna be doing a new house.
Right.
and I was thinking Steve's gonna be starting on roads, so it makes sense. if
Steve's got
someone's gonna
enough
do it. Yeah.
and like,
And he's not.
I just envision him trying to accomplish this by himself and like,
Things going bad.
Getting hurt, yeah.
and then, I mean, maybe it would potentially be me and Steve siding this gym and I. So yeah, I think the Kilns doing it sounds great.
And, thing with them, they could probably bring their lift over and do it.
Right,
Right.
yeah,
Right, that's what,
safety.
all right.
And even if they don't have time to do it, I'll see if I can talk Jeffrey into doing some weekend work with me.
Yeah,
I could help too if you guys end up doing it, so keep me posted.
I could get you guys like water, support you from the ground.
Yeah. I'll be your spotter, I'll be the ladder. I don't know.
Forget something, I can run to the hardware store, those kind of things, I got your back, but
Not getting up on a ladder.
the ladder situation is where I get, like, from the ground, I can probably handle it, but.
Oh, you'd be a perfect cut man then.
Okay, very good. Tree growth penalty.
Can I just mention,
Oh.
as far as the gym goes, the gym roof committee, the historical society did just vote to donate $5,000 towards the gym roof.
Wow, what are we up to, do we know?
That would make it 32,600.
And what's our goal?
200.
Larger than that.
No.
A lot larger.
We're a sixth of the way there.
All right.
Making inward.
Hoping when the GoFundMe page gets out, that it gives us another little,
There is gonna be a GoFundMe page, that would be great.
we're in the process of
Okay,
getting that straightened around.
all right, good. Cause I have my little slip at home to donate and I keep forgetting that would be so accessible.
Just let me borrow your checkbook out there.
Okay, I wrote a check and left it on my desk instead of bringing it.
I will follow through. All right. Oh, tree growth penalty, yeah.
Do you have it? Okay, you guys do that.
Yep, so we just have self-explanatory, a tree growth penalty, so that will become a supplemental tax.
So Marty, can you explain a little bit about
So when property is in tree growth and then they take it out, there's a penalty.
Right,
That is assessed. So when that happens, that's something that the assessor figures out and calculates and all of that.
I see, okay.
So what happens is, when it comes out of tree growth, they pay that penalty in the form of like a tax. So if we
Right.
assess the tax, the supplemental tax, and it follows the same procedure as any other tax, like as far as liens or whatever, if it doesn't get paid.
Where's this property?
It's very common.
We did, yeah, yeah.
Do we need a motion for this one?
I don't believe so.
Doesn't
I
seem
don't
like we
think so,
should.
no.
No, John and I accidentally, we sold some property to a neighbor and forgot that some of it was in tree growth. And it wasn't, we could only sell 10 or more acres so that it didn't break up, and we sold 8. And our surveyor at the time got to kind of remind us about that. So I'm well aware of that, I just didn't know what this.
You're familiar.
Yeah. Ouch.
I mean, they're getting a tax benefit for having it in trees.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the
Take it out of
penalty's
the
all
tree
about, is they gotta
growth.
pay back
Right.
some of that, I guess.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Here, I'll try to,
He's spreading out.
We always sort it out the next day.
Yeah.
Legal counsel discussion.
okay, so we've talked, without going into great detail in open session, I just wanted to talk about legal representation and at the base. And we've talked about, not having the most faith in the attorneys that we're currently working with, and Glenn has given me some recommendations or something to that effect from other municipal attorneys. And I haven't reached out to them, but I do have like little write-ups about that. But they've been told to me by other people that these are aggressive. And on that note, I also got an email saying that Gray will not be the one doing this case if we stay with Bernstein.
Okay.
So his name is Daniel Murphy that would be taking on this case if we stay with Bernstein. And I think that it might be wise to have an executive session with him and kind of feel that
Absolutely.
I would
Yeah.
absolutely agree with that.
out. So
In addition to exploring
the
options.
yeah.
Like I think that we need someone that's going to be aggressively in our favor and
and knowledgeable.
knowledgeable about the subject, for sure.
Do we must have a contract with Bernstein, sure?
There's nothing that says that we can't have more than one attorney
Okay.
because I'll leave that out of public session, so never mind.
Mhm.
There's nothing that says that we can't have more than one attorney, and there's nothing that says that we can't have more than one opinion.
Right.
So even if we don't necessarily move along, we can verify what is being told to us by,
Second opinion.
right?
Because we had talked about having a kind of set contract with Bernstein Shore for the budget
Right.
in terms, because of using their services so much,
Right.
rather than paying by the hour. So
Right.
that would change.
Yeah, and I don't know if it would,
Well, even if you had a contract with them, that contract doesn't state you have to use me in all your legal matters.
Right.
It's just saying, we will represent you for X amount of money.
and that the contract wouldn't
Cover the key.
cover the case anyways. It would cover our day-to-day, like
Right.
our phone calls, our letters, our emails, our,
Yeah.
Doesn't have anything to do with
So- this particular case could be represented by somebody else entirely and just have,
Speaking of them without going in, did we get an estimate yet?
yes,
You don't have.
Just a ballpark, he said somewhere between 7,500 and 10 grand.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm open to looking into,
So maybe I should reach out to, one of, or these people, they're from the same firm, so, reach out to them and like give them a briefing as to what we're experiencing and see what they have to say.
that'd be good. And in addition to having an executive session with this.
Where are they based? Do we know?
Portland?
Do you know where this,
Augusta.
Augusta?
I kind of almost feel like this used to be our attorney.
The name looks familiar, the company.
Um,
Maybe even when I came here as early as that, you know?
Really?
Yeah.
So they're gonna run for the hills.
Yeah, Monson again.
Not Monson. I think it's at least worth exploring.
Okay, I will do that, and then as far as executive session, I haven't. So hard to remember what you're supposed to say and what you're not supposed to say.
We have a 20-day deadline,
Right.
and so that brings us to when? Is it business days?
Yeah. I was thinking-
It just says 20 days. It
All right,
doesn't say
calendar
business
days. In May 14th deadline.
So, okay, so next Thursday is the first. I cannot do the first. Ivy would be very mad at me. Her first concert at school is on the first. But we could, I mean, even if
It's an exec session, so it could be during the day
we could do
if,
it during the day.
or
And
another day.
Or Tuesday, or.
yeah, Tuesday would be fine for me. So potential, because I'll have to reach out to him and see what he has available too. So if we have more than one date, I can give him, and then I'll get back to you guys on which one
Okay.
works out. So if we did Tuesday, 4,
Four's good?
yeah. And then if that doesn't work,
Is Friday an option? Like,
what's the,
I know
the
you
second?
guys work, so I don't know what your time.
I can be here whenever.
And even if
Boss.
if we do it Friday nights, I mean, I'm not opposed to.
Friday, no, just kidding.
I'm usually here anyway,
I go
so
out and
out on the town.
I don't.
You can come down here and party with us.
Yeah, I wouldn't wanna say I could do it Friday during the day because we've been doing installs on Fridays and we go all over the place.
Right.
I don't know what the schedule is. I do know John's going away for a week and
When's the end of your workday usually?
2:30, so any.
Okay, so if we did Friday at like 4, that would work.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the 29th or 2nd?
I would hope that this would be, I mean, I know it may not be a priority for him, but it certainly is a like we need to have this conversation.
Right.
Because we have 20 days.
Right.
So,
And if we can't figure everything out in one setting, we have to have,
Yeah,
right.
you let Gray know about,
yes, and that's when he introduced me to this new guy.
wow, okay,
So they're all in a loop
okay.
as to,
Is Gray just not handling this or is he?
I'm assuming he's just not handling this particular
Okay.
case.
Cool.
Because I sent it both to him and Mary.
Very great.
Because that's what he asked me to do, so I did, and then he emailed me back and said, actually, our colleague Dan Murphy is going to be handling this, so.
Okay.
All right, so I will reach out to him tomorrow and get his feedback from him and see what day works best for him and go from there and let you guys know.
Sounds good. Anything else miscellaneous?
There must be something. It's only 8:19.
Only.
We can't be done yet. There's so much fun to be had.
A motion to adjourn.
There's a little mouse over there whispering. All right, a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Oh.
You, oh, what?
Wise guy.
Jesus. All right, you need to.
What is it, 8:19?
Let's vote 2-1.
You can stay
Aaron
here
wanted
as
to
long
stay
as
and
you want.
continue.
Hey, Jonathan, what's that stuff called?